G'day everyone, Wesley from The Man That Can and the awesome Lachie Stuart. Today I feel very privileged. Actually, I'm going to call myself the podcast assistant technician here for the
awesome...
It's
a very fancy name.
Yeah, well, I thought, I'd need a business card, and I actually feel really privileged because Lachie came to me and he just asked if we could do this podcast about his journey. The journey of doing 30 marathon rows over 30 days. And I feel blessed that I can actually ask you questions, be on the other end, and you're on the other end of receiving the questions. So,
well, this is our fifth podcast together.
Number 5, lucky number 5.
Might be 6th.
Yeah.
One around that ballpark. We're heading towards double figures. But mate, I'm excited, and it is day 30.
And I think one thing that connects us, mate, is we always just want to either get better with ourselves or try and improve people that are watching this. Mate, 30 marathons over 30 days. I think we've just got to go back a little. Mate, how did we get here?
The simple response is one day at a time.
Yep.
But the initial goal was every year for the last couple of years I've done or set myself some challenge, physical challenge, 12-hour challenges, 12-hour hikes, all that sort of stuff, just to, I guess, test myself. And then a ripple effect of that is people have wanted to get involved. So this year sort of shifted it to something that everyone could get involved with regardless of their fitness levels. And that's the beauty of it, and I wanted to set something that I knew was going to be challenging for myself personally, because I think it's important to lead through action rather than just talking, because there's a lot of people who talk and post inspirational quotes, but inspiration means shit if you don't do it. And I think when I set 30 marathons, a lot of people doubted it. I never doubted it for myself because I know my training levels and fitness ability. I knew it would definitely be challenging, but I hoped that other men out there, and even plenty of ladies have jumped on board as well, which is amazing, would go, oh, if Lachie's doing 30, I can do one marathon. Or some person who doesn't exercise at all might go, I can do 30 minutes, and that's what's happened. It's been awesome, and I truly believe, and I was saying to Benny this morning, even though my belief around this is my identity is not, because I think a lot of the time when we work towards big ambitious things, like, I don't want to undervalue what I've achieved, but I'm also not attached to the outcome. I know tomorrow's a new day and there's more stuff to move on to, because I know when I was playing rugby and stuff, that was like my whole identity, and that's all it was. So I don't want people to think that just because you've achieved one thing that's going to completely change your life. It gives you the tools, and I think we need to look at what you learn in that process that enables you to change your life, not exactly that moment itself, because there's people who hold on to stuff. This is a really long-winded answer, but people who hold on to stuff, bad stuff, they allow that to define who they are, why they can't achieve certain things. So I think it's not allowing this to recognize that you're better than other people or anything like that. It's just like, what did I learn from it? What's next? Because I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to inspire myself. Like, that's the goal, is I want to be better every day, and in the process our local community, because I think it's more inspirational when you know the person, right? When you see what they achieve, rather than just reading books and podcasts. When you actually see, there's so, like yourself, getting in the ring, we've spoken about that, a lot of other guys who've rode who have just blown me away with their commitment, their resilience, their grit. That's inspiring. Like, you can go on the internet and read about it, but it's not as, when you're not as connected to that individual, it doesn't seem to have that same impact. So I hope the ripple effect, I already know the ripple effect of this is going to continue doing that. And I just hope more men now go, well, if I can do that, what else can I put my mind to and achieve?
Mate, what do you think was like one of the big influences for you to come up with something? Because if you're watching this online or seeing it on YouTube, you're probably going to see 30 days of 30 marathons.
Yeah.
So that is worth clickable. Like, how did you get influenced to actually get yourself here? There's got to be something that's drawn you, and I know that you want to challenge yourself, but is there someone or something that's influenced you to do this?
I think there's been, I've watched people like Ned Brockman do 30 marathons in 30 days running. Then I had Kent on the podcast who's done some crazy stuff. And when I talk to them about what they've done, I'm like, I really haven't challenged myself. I've still always played to my strengths. Like a lot of things that I do, I really feel I know what my strengths and weaknesses are, and I believe my resilience is one of them. But I also know I'm a really good runner. So for me, I was like, well, I hate the rower. Absolutely hate the rower. It's boring as batshit. You're looking at the screen, you've got to watch the numbers count down, and it's going to hurt. Like I'm not strong at it. I'm not confident on the rower. I avoid it. So putting those together, I was like, this could be the perfect storm where I also believed I'd be able to control it to a degree, but what I learned pretty quickly and what I got frustrated with was that I think when we have the ability to set up challenges for ourselves, we still, maybe in a way that we're unaware about, we're controlling it to work in our favour. And this didn't work in my favour this time, which taught me a whole heap more, which we'll talk when we do, I guess, the second part of this, and had a bit more time to think. I've learned so much that had I gone the way I wanted it to, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to learn. So, and also doing something long term, it's really easy. He's one of the inspiring blokes now, Scotty. It's really easy to stay in your comfort zone and still, it's like lying to yourself, right? If you read books all the time and attend events and you're wanting to be better, but you're not actually getting out there and putting the work in, you feel like you're busy, you feel like you're being productive, but in reality you're going nowhere, right? You're just sort of treading water. And I don't want to tread water. I want to find my weaknesses. I want to be pushed to the threshold where I go, fuck this, what am I doing? That's when I know I'm actually achieving what I set out to achieve.
Did you procrastinate on this idea?
No, I didn't. I pulled the Band-Aid off. Yeah. Really, the moment that I decided, I think I called Benny, and then I was like, okay, well, obviously, look, I did control some things. I knew Amy was going overseas for a riding trip, and I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure that there were certain things, because it would have been tough on our relationship had she been, or I believe it may have been, because I was going to bed so early, and that, going to bed at 7 o'clock impacts our time together as a relationship. So I sort of was like, okay, Amy's going away this time. If I can start here, that'll allow me to really focus and give the energy that I need to it. And then obviously moved work around and everything like that. So that was definitely, I guess, worked in my favour. And yeah, from the moment I spoke to Benny, I was like, righto, it's 8 weeks away. I didn't want to, I did train, but I also didn't. Really, my training program was, once again, I just believed I could do it, because I'd rode a marathon. Once I decided to do it, I rode a marathon. It fucking hurt and everything like that, but I knew it was going to be more mental. So my training program was twice a week I'd row, 30 minutes first week, 45, and just build up. That was it. And within 8 weeks, we were on. And I spoke to Benny, I was like, we don't have to wait too long, because I've got track season coming up soon. I want to get going, and I think if you procrastinate, once again, a different thing, like if we do code or something, probably needs a bit more preparation, but I believed I could get the job done, and I thought if we could get the community involved, they'd be able to get the job done pretty quickly as well.
Mate, there's two things that I'm really hearing. Obviously, didn't procrastinate, which is amazing, but got stuck straight into it. To me, that equals drive. So where has that drive come from?
I thought about this a lot the other night. I was like, am I doing this for coming from a place of lacking self-worth, and is it from that place? And then I was like, not really. I value who I am and recognition, but for me it's almost like providing myself this platform to help other blokes, because I know, one thing I truly believe about myself is if I have an idea, if I want to do something, I get things done, and I don't depend on a single person. I don't need anything from anyone, which is also to my detriment, because one thing I've learned from this experience has definitely been the importance of having team and the importance of asking for help and support, because I've needed it more than I realised throughout this. But if I want to get stuff done, I just do it. So for me, I wanted to show other blokes as well, you don't need to wait for us, if things don't fall in line with your life, if you're training for a Spartan or waiting for a marathon, you don't have to wait for a bridge to Brisbane or whatever. Just fucking set your own event and get it done. Or if you're working towards anything, just set your own timeline, build your plan and get it done. And I think because it's bigger than myself, it also made me hungrier to get it done, because seeing what everyone's achieved is fucking unreal. That's the cool stuff. And I'm like, had I waited 6 months, I don't even know, but a ripple effect potentially, I could have saved someone's life. This whole thing could have changed someone's life.
Well, you're starting to get media attention. People are like, it's amazing how you've coming through this journey, coming up to 30 days, and now you're getting that media attention, and you can start to see that people are like, oh my God, this gentleman or this person's actually going to finish this thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
We
I've
are
been referred to as a gentleman before.
Well, you are to me.
Yeah,
so, but mate, we are at day 30. Does it scare you or does it excite you?
I think it definitely excites me. I still feel like it's this euphoria. Like last night, I was like actually sitting there thinking like it's pretty cool what I've achieved. And to be honest, I have been so fatigued. I haven't really been able to ride the highs and lows. It's just been body's painful, my head's having a terrible time. But it'll be probably once we finish today that I can actually sit back and see the smiles on the satisfaction on everyone else's face, that I'll realise actually the power of the ripple effect of everything that's happened. Like, because as I said, like I've always believed I was going to do it, so there was never a doubt in my mind that I wasn't. Like, obviously there were things that didn't go to plan, but I think when you're so confident of achieving something, in your head you're already there.
Yep.
But yeah, seeing other people hit their own milestones is like, to me, it's like that's the cool thing. And then I'm already like, okay, well, what have I learned from this that we can improve for the next thing that we do? Okay. So yeah, definitely not scared.
But does it maybe scare you from the perspective of how much you can actually push yourself?
Oh yeah,
like the learnings from this is like, oh my God.
Well, it's more exciting because so many people doubted me at the beginning. Like, so many people. I don't know anyone that didn't doubt me at the beginning, to be honest. Who was like, yeah, it's either going to impact your business, it's going to break your body down, all this sort of crap. And it's done none of that. My business has grown. I feel fitter than ever. Like,
and your impact's been bigger.
Impact's been bigger.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I feel really good. So I think I'm excited to see how. And like I said, like losing 4 to 5 hours a day from other things and these may sound like insignificant things, but I don't trim my nails. My mum, for the first time on the phone, is like, this is the first time I felt you've actually been present. Like, it's put a lot of stuff into perspective for me, around how much previously I probably was always trying to do a million things at once, whereas now, because it's been such a big task, I've had to make sure my sleep's on point, I've had to make sure my nutrition's on point. I've not really made time for people who sap a lot of energy from me, but there's nothing in return. I've really made time for the people that matter most. So, and seeing that there's not really, I guess, been too much bad stuff happen as a result of that, I'm like, or maybe I have just been over-committing to things and being too busy.
All good.
So, yeah, so I'm definitely excited about how much more I can get out of myself. And to be honest, like watching what my body's done over the last 30 days and how my heart rate's been and stuff, like I'm excited to go to the next thing.
I wanted to be transparent when Lachie actually mentioned this to me about as in what he was going to do, the 30 over 30. I always knew you were going to get started. I had no doubt, but I did think that injury would take you out at some point. I thought something would happen, blow up a knee, or just you had to just stop because, however, so maybe there was some doubt there, but mate, you have nothing but impressed me because you have looked after yourself throughout this whole process, and you have pushed through some pain barriers because we've spoken about it.
Yeah.
But we are here, and we'll wrap this up. But mate, we are going into day number 30, row number 30, the last 42,000 metres.
What a time to be alive, mate. What a time to be alive.
Have you done the stats on how many metres over in
total?
So
for myself, it'll be 1.2 million metres, 1.264 million metres. So and then as a collective, we've had 37 people, not including today, row marathons, plus the 17 other people who've hit distances. So we're at like 2.7 or 2,700 kilometres collectively, which is pretty insane. I think on the ABC yesterday they were drawing a map around down the Brisbane River of how far we've rode. So I'll do something like that at the end, and maybe we'll end up in Sydney or somewhere.
And mate, if there's a message that you want to say to yourself, what is that?
It's just do something today that's making you better for tomorrow. And that can be in any area. It could be having that conversation, getting a little bit fitter, saving that little bit more money, whatever it is. It's like, just if it's going to set you up for tomorrow, do it today.
Yep. And no, I asked the question as in, what do you want to say to yourself? Because this is your last day. Like, this is the day.
Sorry, I thought that's what you meant, but I was like, hopefully we could
all good. No, because, mate, I feel blessed that you've asked me, but, the shoe's on the other foot now. Like, you have been through some tough periods and some rewarding periods, but, you're coming to this achievement. However, what do you want to say to yourself?
I just think that you've done fucking well, man.
Yep.
Like, really. Like, is what it is. I'm definitely proud of what I've achieved. It's, I think it'll sink in. Like, at the moment, it's like, I know, I need to reflect on that, but for sure, it's like, I'm definitely proud of what I achieved, and I don't think, it's like, I really don't think the enormity of what it is will sink in until a couple of days later.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of good stuff.
Well, I just want to say, mate, you've got this. You have got this by the balls.
Mate, if I fail today, far out.
Well, no, but the thing is that you're not. And even if you did, mate, it's still an achievement. And I know that people would actually probably get in behind you and push you. Everyone would be like, no, we're going to drag you over that line. So... if you're watching this is part 1. We're going to come back with part 2, and Lachie's going to take some time. He's actually been journaling this whole process, which is really, really cool, and we're going to reflect on all those learnings. But I hope this has been a good little base to sort of understand where we're at, and next time we see you, this champion here is going to be finished 42,000 metres for today.
Thanks so much for taking me through it.
No, man, we'll do it at the end. Thank you. G'day everyone, Wesley here from The Man That Can, and the tables have turned. However, we are here because this great gentleman has completed the feat of all feats.
Done.
Yeah. If you're not aware, or if you're tuning in, actually this is the second part of this particular podcast, but Lachie Stuart completed. And to me, this is a first of, but correct me if I'm wrong, 30 marathons on the rower over 30 days continuously every day.
Yep.
42,000 metres on the rower every day for 30 days.
It's a lot of strokes.
You've got a great stroke rate. Now, mate, can we confirm, is that a first?
It is.
Like, I know it's your first, but is that a first?
We're still waiting. If you go in Guinness Book of Records,
Yeah.
I have lodged it, so we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Well, I'm officially calling it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm officially calling that this legend here has rode 30 consecutive 42,000 metres row. And, mate, congratulations.
Thank you, mate. It's so good to be done. Like, this is what, 10 days post?
Yes.
Or maybe 4... about 10, 11 days post finishing up.
Yep.
So I'm pretty stoked. I do have... the other day, I got a heap of gifts. There's a gift up there, big knife, and I got a shirt, and Moore's one of the ladies from the gym. Her dad made this.
Oh,
like,
mate, yeah.
Woodwork. Woodwork is a lost art.
Absolutely. And this is what I was just going to say, mate. From what you have inspired has been incredible. And these gifts just solidify that. Like, mate, the inspiration that you created out it by actually pushing yourself, you have changed so many people's lives from even to the perspective, like, who does wood art these days?
I know, it's literally a lost...
Yeah.
It reminded me of when I was a kid and my granddad used to make me Chicago Bull timber keyrings.
Yeah.
I was like, no one does that anymore. Well, not that I'm aware of. So, it's cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect any gifts, so I'm super grateful for that.
And
you guys got me the massages as well. Like, you guys are legends.
Legit massage.
Yeah.
But, mate, listen, as you said, we are 10 days post, and I honestly, no doubt you've had time to think about it, stew on it, highs and lows. But, mate, I think you actually mentioned you were journaling. I did journal
indeed. Let me just get the stuff up. I did actually prepare for this. is good.
And I guess, mate, now just whilst you're doing that, just a question, like compared to what you've finished to now, what before you started, like what is the dark and night difference? Obviously, you completed it, but knowing that you've done that, like, you know, from now to then, like, how are you feeling?
It is satisfying. Like, it is. To think that the biggest thing for me was the fact that I was able to commit that much time to something without stressing out about work. Like, originally, that was a big worry, but then as soon as I came back into normal routine, literally the next day, I was fully booked with meetings again. I was like, how did I get back here? Because this is not what I wanted. And all of a sudden, my anxiousness and overwhelm came back.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yep.
And I was like, I thought I would have experienced that when I was doing the rows, and I didn't have the time to give to to work and my everyday routines, but I've just gone straight back into trying to be something and be there for everyone else before myself.
Yes.
And that to me is not a fun, it's, you know, obviously it's rewarding, but I need to fix that.
Yep.
Like it's something that I need to address, and I'm going to work out. I'm going away, so hopefully I'll have more time to work out what I can do to do that. But yeah, now having that time back, I'm like, all right, I need to actually start doing things for me. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday that probably ties into this, where authors in particular, they actually have to get out there and live their life to be able to share their story. Whereas a lot of people, I guess, or not a lot of people, but maybe researchers and stuff don't really live a lot. They just research a lot. And I felt, you know, for me, talking about confidence, talking about resilience, talking about building community, it's very easy for me to sit behind the podcast and do that, but actually taking the time to, you know, row 3 hours a day, have the community involved, manage to still fit a little bit of work in, but not stress about it, was the most satisfying thing I've experienced in a long time. And there was, you know, Mum, I can't remember whether I said this on the part 1, but Mum's like, this is the first time I feel like we've been on the phone and you're actually present. And like to hear that from your mum, you're like, wow.
You mentioned that to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd mentioned on that camera, but I remember you were talking to me about it.
And so many other people have said similar things, like your brain doesn't seem to be ticking over as much, like you're actually a lot more present. And I'm like, this is crazy. But when I thought, you know, I've thought about it a lot since. I was like, well, what specifically allowed me to be in that frame of mind? Because I legitimately can sit here and say that's where I want to go back to. Like, that way of living is exactly how I want to live my life. Because people notice, people feel valued more so, and you're not racing around like a blue-ass fly. And my business grew. Like, I'm here trying to build a business, calling people, following up, blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't grow as quick as what it did when I was actually having fun. And that is a really hard thing to get your head around.
Yep.
So did I answer your question? I sort of went off on a very long-winded tangent.
No, because I was just sort of asking, you know, what has been, I guess, the main difference from before you started to now being. Yeah, but you're talking about it, right?
Yeah.
It's the things that you've noticed.
Presence, and just over-committing.
What I'd noticed about when you did that period is that you were just dedicated to that one task, but you're dedicated to looking after yourself. But through that dedication, mate, that's where the byproduct or the beauty has come out of it.
Yeah.
People have seen that. And I guess actually I was thinking when I was driving over, it's really easy to demonize social media, but social media was such your friend in this journey.
Yeah.
Because you were able to document it.
Yep.
But being able to then document it and expose it to so many people like, I want to get involved. And then word of mouth and everything like that. So, but I think this, and just from what I observed of you, is that it was your dedication, but you're dedicated to that thing. But outside of that, any of that time that you had spare, you're dedicated to them because you're in that mode.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. And I think the ripple effect of going, okay, well, I'm not losing, but 5 hours a day now where I'd normally be doing other things is gone.
Yep.
So the time that I have with everything else needs to be extremely intentional, and I need to deliver or gain as much, however that time was spent, is like I want to maximize it. I think that was, worked well for me, and it worked well for everyone around me because I was attentive. My sleep was very attentive. The lead up to sleep, magnesium, no phone, no time watching Netflix or anything. I was like, if I felt like watching a film, I'm like, nah, sleep then.
Yeah.
And all of these things just helped me be better. I recovered more. I felt happier. I didn't feel as cloudy and literally anxious. Like I literally felt phenomenal. And I've since not been as disciplined because to me, I'm like, well, I'll be able to get through the day tomorrow. Whereas when you're thinking about rowing a marathon, you're like, I need to make sure I'm in optimal position. And I think in life, that's a good thing to consider. If you're not where you want to be, it's like you do need to be optimal for the next day. Even if you're not rowing a marathon, your day could be a marathon, right? Whether it's improving your finances, whether it's being better in the household, whether it's showing up at work and being attentive. If you want to achieve those things that you want, it's like every day is that marathon.
Yeah.
So how's your sleep? How's your nutrition? How do you feel about yourself? How's your anxiousness, overwhelm, and all of that sort of stuff? And that to me was just game changing to experience, because I talk about it, and I know I'm going on tangents, but I just want to get this across. Is like I practice mindfulness, I journal, I do all of these things that I talk about, and a lot of people talk about to manage your well-being and maximize what you can gain from your life. But legitimately, being in the moment, like acting and having something to live for, like, and obviously we got something to live for, to show up for every day that was bigger than me, made that all of the things that I talk about just happen. Like, when, you know what I mean? I experienced them. I really, really experienced them. And it is the best feeling I've had in years.
Well, or my interpretation of it is that you had this baseline of tools, right? That from your mindfulness, your meditation, your fitness, your diet, you going on to sleep, you've learned all these little facets, and that's your base, that's your foundation that then allows you to do these epic tasks or epic challenges, right? But if you didn't have that base, I think that particular challenge, yeah, sure, you would have gotten through it, but it would have been a slog, right?
I don't think I would.
Okay, yeah, or maybe you wouldn't have.
I don't think that I would have, because all the things I've learned about, well, one, I've got incredible, as I spoke about earlier, like an incredible support network around me, and those, whether it's people who know how to sort of inspire me and motivate me, whether it's people who can do body work on me, looking after my body, whether it's people who just make things in my life a little bit easier or feed me. Like, I don't think had I not built the networks and I guess been showing up the way I've been showing up over the years, I may not have had that. So I would have crumbled had I not had that. Also, understanding how to improve my sleep. Like, I've read so many books on it, and I've practiced that for a long time, taping my mouth, and various other restorative protocols, sauna, ice bath, the leg sleeves, like circulation sleeves, red light therapy, like all of these things that I just put into place because I'd learnt them and I tried them and I've experienced the benefits, and that had come over the years. I don't think if I didn't have all of that, I really think mentally or physically something would have given. Like, I feel even the strongest mind, it's like, why? You think about it like this, like if I'm blistering up or if my hamstring's cooked or mentally I'm really starting to struggle, what am I going to gain by keep going?
Yep.
So I think, I definitely believe that it was so much bigger than me and every lesson that I'd had to date. And this is what I think, like, lifelong learning, and why we should always be open to trying new restorative protocols. Even if you think you've got the best toolkit in the world, things are always developing.
You're always upgrading every year. Actually, I realised, just a quick analogy, like I have to do my first aid every year.
Yeah.
And even though sometimes I'm like, I've got to do it again. But then when I go and do it, I'm like, I'm so glad I did that, because I've refreshed and I've remembered I can save someone's life. But it's the same with... Sorry, that's a good one. Well done. Mitchie. But, mate, it's a good one when it comes to personal development and what we're discussing. Even though, you can have that baseline, you've got to get in touch with it every year. You've got to tweak it, or you've got to get a reminder here, or you've got to do a refresh.
Yep.
And, mate, that's exactly what I think, you were going on your little rant before, it was just reminding me, if you're watching this, get into personal development as soon as you can from a young age, because these things that we're talking about, that's involved in personal development.
Yeah, legitimately.
Yeah. Sign up to Lachie's program.
ASAP.
Plug, absolutely. But more from the perspective of getting involved with people that want to make you better. And brother, that experience that you just did made you better, which then has now improved your business, which has made it better.
Yep.
And you've gotten learnings out about the dedication and the time and the intention. And, mate, you're becoming a better person.
Definitely.
And you're bettering our community.
It's just showed me how many people are hungry for a challenge. Like
exactly. But want to be led too. And that's what
definitely.
you did. You led them.
Definitely. Like I was blown away by how many people stepped up to row a fucking marathon. Like,
me too.
Talking about it prior, I was like, yeah, if I get, 5 to 10 people row marathons, that would be epic. Next minute, people are dropping from the ceilings wanting to row marathons. And you're like, this is awesome out of support, but it's also everyone when they were going through their own journeys and at the end, they're like, I can't believe I did that.
Yep.
And then we're talking about, potentially doing all these other challenges. Sign me up, mate. Sign me up. And you're like, this is incredible because once you sort of push the threshold for what that looks like for every individual who got involved, it's like they're hungry for more because everyone had even though I'm sharing what I've learned, everyone would have had different learnings through this whole process. And that ripple effect of walking away going, I can't believe I did that, one, but two, I'm so proud of myself for doing that. And they're going to walk taller, they're going to have eyes up, and they're just going to feel fucking incredible. And I'm like, all right, well, and then tying it in, I guess, to the leadership thing is I get excited because, well, one, I get to build and design the events, and then people are like, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to get involved. And you're like, cool, now we've got some momentum. Let's all get in the Hurt Locker together and see what comes up as a result of that. And then once again, it sprawls out into the community and people are better dads, better business owners, and just showing up just more confident and better in every area and aspect of their life as a result of it.
Yep. Now, mate, you mentioned journaling, and I know that it was an important thing for you. And, mate, I'm so stoked because obviously about to hear what you're going to say, because after 3 hours to 4 hours of rowing, I reckon sitting down and writing something would have been probably the last thing on my mind. I reckon I would have been looking after my hands and trying to stretch and get nutrients in me. But obviously journaling was part of the process. Mate, tell us, like, what were some of the observations?
And much to your point there, like most of the days, the last thing I wanted to do was write it. So there's some days which is like a paragraph or two. Then there's other days where I've really like unloaded on it. But just the mindset. And one of the things I noticed was if I woke up from a great sleep and I was like, man, I feel amazing today.
Yep.
I would generally find the road tougher, more challenging.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that has to do with mindset, because I think in the lead up to the row, I may not have got myself as primed for what was about to happen. I was just like, I'm feeling good. I can maybe not warm up as long. I'll jump on and just let's rip in and go. So I think feeling good, it's almost like it's going to happen. Like I've earned, like I'm guaranteed to get this done. So you sort of don't do those 1% as well. That's what made the role a little bit more challenging. Then the opposite observation was on days where I woke up feeling so tired or something was aching, my glute was on fire or hamstrings, like behind my knees at one point were just literally, it's hard to explain what it felt like, but I was getting people to grab it. Did I get you to grab it? Mate, it literally felt like two bits, like getting two rubbers, like you rub pencils out with, and just moving them together like this dry, gristly, gross feeling. And I was like, man, my knees are cooked.
Yep.
But when that started happening, like my warm-up was even longer. Like I'd make sure I'd use the Theraguns or do the leg sleeves. I'd stretch probably 40 minutes before and really warm up on those days. And then I'd have an incredible row. And I'm starting to think, all right, well, intention and preparation and priming are key, right?
Yep.
Once again, to every area of your life. But also then looking at like the mindset, I don't think I was on like this baseline of emotion. Like I was proud of what I was doing, but I didn't feel this euphoric feeling. I didn't feel satisfied, nor did I feel like sad or any negative emotions. It was just like this flat line of emotion. I'm like, I should be, and I guess I put this expectation on myself to be feeling more than what I was, right?
Yep.
Like, because what I was achieving looking back was pretty incredible, and the fact that we had so much community involvement and things like that, I was like, I should be feeling good. Like, shouldn't I be feeling good? And this whole mental sort of conversation went on as to, why am I not feeling good? And I think obviously out of pure fatigue, that was the case, but I also went into it with an expectation around, I guess, how I should feel rather than just being. And it's like that whole, all right, tick, you should feel amazing right now. And I think a lot of us live our life like that, going, when I achieve this, this will make me happy, or this will make me feel like that. And I just once again prove that to myself that, you know, had I been in the right frame of mind to go, look, enjoy, and I did enjoy it, but like, you're not feeling the way you're expecting to feel because your body is absolutely fatigued, mate, like completely fatigued, but you're feeling the best you can in this moment, and you're doing everything to be able to really appreciate the moment. I think when we did this first, we were sitting on the stairs, and I feel like I may have been a little bit negative. A lot of my responses were like, you know, I'll figure that out later, or, you know, it's not a big deal, it's this and that. And like, I still don't, to me, feel like it's life-changing what I achieved, but it's also like something that I'm really pumped that I did do, but I'm also like, well, what are we doing next? Because it's the collection of everything that happened that made it so special. It's not just, you know, the fact that I rode 1.2 million meters or whatever. It's not the fact that we had 43 blokes or people row marathons and everyone else who got involved and got the community talking. It's like the accumulation of all of that, and it's like the support, the messages, the gifts that came through. It's the learnings that I got to experience that made it so incredible. And I'm like, all right, well, this is brilliant for me, but my life isn't going to be fulfilled unless we have more people experiencing and having the knowledge that I have now. Because I did a webinar last night, and there were some people on there that I've known for a long time, and I'm like, I'm really excited that they're starting to show up for themselves, and that they could have potentially come across the webinar as a result of the row.
Yep. And
now I'm hoping that what they then learnt there will be that little nudge for them to start doing some more things that benefit them and I guess their communities moving forward. So now I'm like, okay, well, you know, we've got the Row for a Bro coming up, which we're going to partner with your foundation, which is exciting. And it's like, okay, well, last year was pretty loosely run and all of this sort of stuff, but everyone loved it. Like, everyone was like, that was the favourite event of the year. I'm like, awesome. Well, now we've got momentum into that. How can we make it better, and what other lessons can we sort of push people to learn, rather than, you know, we're raising awareness, raising funds and getting healthy, but what are some other things we can implement into that so people walk away going from, that's a must not miss that event ever.
Mate, the reason why I'm smiling is because I'm so happy that we're recording this, because the question was about journaling. Mate, and you have just gone on this amazing rant. But that, brother, that's the journal.
Well, I think
that
this was
was the trigger, right? Yeah. And that's what I love. But what we just experienced there is what you're journaling, right? Yeah. And maybe it didn't necessarily come out like that while you're writing it, but you have just verbally journaled.
Well, do you know what's funny? When we did the first, and Benny was videoing, he's like, mate, I don't think you answered any of Wes's questions. And I'm like, well, I did, but actually, I want to unpack this. I want to explain my mind, because now's the opportunity. So thanks for bringing that up. You go.
No, I just want, and he is right. However, brother, the reason is because you have so much goodness going on inside of you, and you're used to you're probably going the other way, right? As in, like, you're interviewing someone else, and right. So I think, however, mate, you are honestly speaking your genuine truth. Everything about everything that you say, even from part one, is authentic, right? Yep. The authenticity is there. That's right. And you're just wanting to get that out. Well, but unpack.
Yeah, no, well, for me, it's this, and I was saying this to Benny, and it may work for me or against me. I don't really know, and, you know, I'm trying to get better at it. But when I listen to coaches talk, they're so sold on the idea of what they believe everyone should be doing it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I got a lot of respect for that, and I wish I could probably do that a lot more. But for me, I come through this understanding that anyone who's listening to me is going through their own experience. Mm-hmm. So for me to sit here and go, you need to do exactly this, is a fucking ridiculous thought to me. So that's why, for me, if someone asks me a question, I'll answer my experience, but then I want to try and include as many other ways of looking at it, or essentially not attacking a problem, but attacking a problem, because I want to try and hit everyone there and I think that's one of my downfalls, because rather than talking to the exact person who resonates with me, I'm like, well, okay, this will work for that right person, but you can also look at this, you can also consider this, and that's probably how I go off, topic, I guess for these, I'm still in it right now. But with the diary, when you asked about journaling, I'm like, well, this is what it looks like for me. Some days are in, some days are out. This is what I'm feeling. This is the learnings. This is the lessons. And here we are.
If you coming back to that, the journaling, like from week, like there's 4 weeks in the 30 rows, would you say?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, there is.
Yeah, 4 weeks. Yeah, my maths is amazing. From week 1, 2, 3, or 4, are you seeing a difference at all? Like, can you talk us through that? Because each day was different. But did you notice? Did it get stronger, weaker?
Yeah, well, I think it's, once again, it's the same with all things in life. When you start, you're extremely motivated and enthusiastic. So at the beginning, I spent more time journaling and I spent more time writing, and I was like, this is easy. The middle 2 weeks is where you're really hurting and you start going, wonder if I push it too much, if my hamstring's going to tear or if my glutes cooked. And a lot of, I guess, it's when you're in the hurt locker and there's nothing. I wrote a lot about, the pain that I was experiencing mentally and I guess the doubt and all of this sort of stuff. But then I'm like, you're not in a position to complain, Lachie, because you chose to do this.
Yep, well said.
People ask you how you're going. It's like, well, I'm choosing to feel good because the alternative fucking sucks.
Yep.
And then coming to the final week, I was like, well, I know I'm going to complete this. And it actually became more challenging when I started to really believe it, because now I had to sit here for 3 hours a day knowing that I've got it done. But it's like that, you want to tick it off now.
Yep.
But you still got to do the time. You still got to put in the effort.
Was there a day where you're like, I'm done, I'm potentially done here? Like, was there like a day where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to make it?
7, 8, 9 were excruciating. I've never, ever felt pain in a long time like that.
Physical pain?
Physical pain. It was excruciating. And when I then started going, you've got another 3 weeks to go here. How are you going to tolerate this amount? It felt like someone had a knife in my glute, just stabbing it. And every time I put pressure on it, it just referred down my leg. And, trying to generate power, I had to just really focus on one leg. And I was like, man, I can get through today. And then it just became about, all right, got through today. Let's do whatever I can to recover and get it not as tender for the next day. The next day, excruciating. I'm like, fuck it, let's just get through today and see how we feel tomorrow. And then eventually it disappeared. So it became, rather than thinking about the big objective, it was just like one stroke at a time, let's get it done. What
do you think was the main thing that honestly kept you going, like the glue that held it together? Because, I was transparent enough at the start. I knew you were always going to do this, but I thought, come day 7, 8, you'd get injured, fall over. Immediately I thought you might have a break and then get back onto it. But you have kept going every day. Like, what was the glue, or what was it that made you push through 7, 8, 9? Because there's something there, man, that's pretty amazing, because it's so easy to just go, hey, I need a break.
Yep. I gave my word. Like, to me, anything that I've done is like, as soon as you put something out there that's big, you've got the people who are like, fuck yeah, awesome, man, that's great. You've got the people who don't really say anything, and then you've got the people who just don't believe it's going to happen, and they'll let you know. So I had all these three kinds of people that I was like, well, I'm going to do it for myself. I'd never let myself down. I know that if I just show up and do what I know to do, I'm going to give myself the best opportunity. And I feel there's been so many experiences in my life, when I've broken bones, broken things, or people have doubted me and I've proved them wrong, because I'm just hungry to, whether it's people view it as doing it wrong, but I'm hungry to prove people wrong. I've spent my whole life fucking doing it, and it feels really good to do that. I'm going to continue to do that, because there's a lot of people out there who doubt themselves. There's a lot of people out there who have influences in their life that doubt them, and they're playing small as a result of that. So I'm like, well, fuck that.
Yeah,
I want to hopefully inspire other people by my ability to prove people wrong and to prove myself wrong every day, that I am capable of more than I first thought, and that's what keeps me hungry. Like, I love it.
Oh, and it's such a lesson, mate. It could be even just with the smallest things with people, like proving someone wrong. It's like, I'm going to meditate for 5 days. Oh, no, you won't. You're going to last 2. Like, no, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. It's such. And the other thing that I'm hearing, mate, is just integrity.
Yep.
You said you're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to show up, and ultimate ownership.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it's all about. And for me now, it's just continuing to do that, taking ownership for my life and finding new challenges.
And that probably comes up. We'll wrap it up because I know you've got to keep moving. But mate, tell us the lessons, because the lessons is where it's all at.
Mate, it literally, the lessons are the pillars.
Yeah,
legitimately are the pillars.
Give us the pillars, mate.
What do you want to? The muscle.
Yep.
What do you want to achieve? What's the skill you're going to develop? For me, when I decided to do it, was obviously the 30 marathons was the goal.
Yep.
What I was going to sharpen was my resilience and commitment. Also, hopefully, influence, which all of that happened. The momentum was showing up every day and doing those 1%ers, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure that we were getting people involved in the row. I was doing my videos, I was doing my journaling, but then also showing up and getting the fucking row done.
Yep.
The meaning behind it was, one, I wanted to find a way to really test myself. I haven't tested myself like that in a long time. And it was so satisfying. And I almost love having people doubt me. But it then also is to inspire other people to push themselves, and we did that. We achieved that. How's everyone getting through on that phone call? To inspire, and we did that. Mm-hmm. That was the meaning. It's like, when it got tough for me, I was like, well, I can't not row today because Scotty's coming in, or because Pete's coming in, or whoever's coming in. It's like, I got to show up for them. Boom. And then the community, that's what we inspired. Like, as I mentioned earlier, all these incredible people supported me in so many ways that they probably aren't even aware of. And they're much of a part of the success of it, because without them, it wouldn't have happened. So all of those learnings is like, just keep it super simple. And through every moment, you're going to have those doubts, you're going to have the obstacles that show up. But if you keep your integrity and fucking grind it out, you're going to get to where you want to get to. And in the process, you're going to learn, you're going to inspire, and you're going to feel so good for it.
Mate, what were some of the stats?
Some of the stats, 1.2 million meters.
There we go. Come on, spit it out.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right. 1,000 snakes eaten.
Wow.
No, I don't know. I literally ate a lot of, 1 to 2 bags of lollies a day. Yeah, it's quite a lot. Sleep, my average sleep throughout the whole time was 8 hours 10, which prior to that was 650 or 645 to 650. So my sleep was on point. My calories burned a day, the average was 5,200 calories burned per day. Calories eaten a day was about 4 to sort of 5. So generally was in deficit, hence why. It's funny, actually. One other observation: the first 15 days, I gained muscle, gained weight. Right, the next 15, I feel like I've really lost a lot of muscle, and I'm down under 80 now for the first time. So I started at 82, so I haven't lost a dramatic amount of weight, but now I just feel really lean, really lean, which is pretty crazy. And then my heart rate's still high.
Yeah.
So my resting heart rate, when beginning, the average resting heart rate was 38 beats a minute.
Yep.
Obviously, under fatigue, it sort of crept up to about 45 while I was sleeping, that resting heart rate, and it's still sitting about there. So I don't know whether I'm still fatigued or what's going on. It'll be interesting to sort of track that moving through.
Yep. And, mate, how many people inspired? How many rows?
43 marathoners. But then we had, between 13 and 17 other people who jumped on the rowers at any given time, which is awesome. A
lot of that was Brisbane based. Was there any?
Yeah, we had Etienne over in France, had George in the UK, had Ellerina in Melbourne, which was awesome. So people could have got involved. By the end of it, I was pretty knackered to try and organise rows digitally. So I was just like, if you want to do it, jump on and get it done. And mate, is there any shout outs, particularly any particular humans that you want to say thank you to? You for interviewing me and being awesome support throughout. Obviously, my wife and family, like, they were awesome with feeding me and making sure I was in bed. Maddie Lank rode 5 marathons and didn't not show up every day, just even to bloody pour some gels in my mouth or give me some lollies. Scotty is the all-time great. He chipped away 10 kilometres a day, ended up finishing with 2 marathons under his belt, 2 half marathons and 400 kilometres for the month, which is insane. And then there were a couple, Mucky as well, always bringing the energy in there.
Yep.
There's too many people to name. So especially Maureen, who organised this and gave me some tips because she's a triathlete and an Iron woman. And so many incredible people. So many.
Now, mate, I kind of see a bit of an opportunity here, and once a year. But I like, what is next for the man that can challenge that involves Lachie? Because I can see like a once in a year pretty fucking hectic challenge, but you use it, which we can then spread all over the world because of your network, and inspire more. But what are you thinking,
mate? I've got the idea to do 4 marathons in one day and on multiple different disciplines. So run, ski, ride, also a marathon ride. I'm going to just double the distance, and then the row. I'd love to do that. Give myself a 20-hour time cap. Get that done. I think that'll be pretty fun.
I reckon go for it, but no time cap. Just you guys.
I'd love to do
24 hours one day.
I reckon I can do 20 hours.
Awesome.
That's a little goal. I think you always get these little smaller goals within something bigger, and I think putting a time cap on it for me is like, well, let's go. Let's see how we go.
Yeah, mate. Final words. Like I did ask this question last time, and I remember you didn't answer it right, but I came back to it. Mate, honestly, like, we're so proud of you, but what do you want to say to yourself? Because this is huge, mate, and this is part of the journaling experience, and that hopefully, your kids or your grandkids will look back at this and go, far out. But mate, what are you saying to yourself after such an amazing feat?
I'm proud of myself, and I didn't think I'd ever be able to inspire as many people as I have. And I think the fact that I'm able, I guess I'm talking to myself, I'm able to do it in a way that I love, and I haven't had to sacrifice who I am in the process, is you couldn't dream to do what I'm doing right now. Like, it's literally the ultimate. And even when I became a coach, there was part of me that was trying to push that fitness element away. I was like, don't want to be a PT, but I'm like, I love fitness. I love the way you can challenge yourself. So the fact that I've grown and evolved and am now in a position to inspire by doing what I love without having to sacrifice any parts of myself is the best feeling of all time.
And you should be proud, brother, because, from a person that was standing from afar, observing, as we've talked about it, community, engaging in the community, not just here in Brisbane, but by the sounds of it all over the world, mate, inspiring people such as Scotty and George and Matty Lancashire, blokes that probably never even thought about thinking about doing a marathon, but jumped on board, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously from a business perspective, you've got now people like, oh no, Lachie practices what he preaches, and look at that explosion through there. So, mate, you should be proud, and mate, definitely do another challenge again, because it is your true self and it's your authenticity. And if you're watching this is what it's all about, being authentic, right?
Yeah,
and being yourself.
Appreciate it, mate. Thanks so much for.
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, listen, I should be finishing up because this event. Please, Man That Can, you can. Where can we find you, mate? On
the website, the manthatcanproject.com. Just get in the academy. If you're sitting on the fence, I don't normally just beat down, but time to get in, time to get involved.
Actually, just quickly, I've got a friend of mine, Ben Kirk. He's overseas. He's doing your 6-week program.
Breakthrough.
Yeah, and mate, he's really enjoying it, right?
Oh, that's good.
And this is a guy that's living on a super yacht overseas. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can touch into Lachie's work, and I can rest assure you, it's worthwhile doing. Why? Because it's there to make you a better person.
Yeah, and do something today to be better for tomorrow.
Hell yeah. Love you, brother.
Thanks, brother.
No, my pleasure.